Ancient remains? Xiao Yan was initially startled when he heard this. Immediately, his eyes turned abruptly towards the elder who had spoken and hurriedly said, "Is there news of the soul baby fruit? Where did you obtain this news from?" Feng Zunjia was also a little stunned as he looked at that elder. From the looks of this manner of his, it seemed that he was unaware of this matter. That elder smiled and explained, "Pavilion Chief Feng, I have been responsible for the matter regarding the ancient remains recently. Based on the information that had been sent back, there are some magical beast tribes that had attempted to barge into the ancient remains but end up miserably pulling back. However, from what those who had fled said, that remains possess a kind of mysterious thing that is extremely similar to the appearance of the soul baby fruit. I guess that thing should likely be the soul baby fruit. The soul baby fruit is indeed something from the ancient times. It is not too surprising for it to appear in the ancient remains." Feng Zunjia was a little excited. He rubbed his hands together and said, "Xiao Yan, you are really a lucky star. We have no result despite searching for a year. Yet, such a good news has been delivered to us the moment you have come out. Don't be happy too early." Yao Lao was not as optimistic as Feng Zunjia. He voiced his thoughts. Currently, this ancient remains has attracted quite a number of experts and factions from the continent. Moreover, that place is within the beast region. It is not an easy matter to take out such a treasure from within it. Back then, the last ancient remains had ended up being flooded with blood. No one knew just how many Dozongs or Dozun's experts had died there. Feng Zunjia's expression became a little solemn when he heard this. He had experienced the ancient remains battle back then, and naturally knew just how intense and cruel that kind of battle was. Just what is the matter regarding this ancient remains? Xiao Yan saw the two people frowning in deep thought and could not resist asking, "Let's get down before we talk about it. Quite a number of things had occurred in the Central Plains during this 1 year that you were unconscious." Feng Zunjia's eyes looked around him, after which he exchanged glances with Yao Lao. He beckoned his hands towards Xiao Yan, and the group rushed down from the tall sky in front of the countless number of eyes before entering the large hall of the Falling Star Pavilion. The group separated and took their seats after having entered the large hall. Xiao Yan smiled towards little fairy doctor, who had closely followed behind him, after which his eyes turned towards Feng Zunjia. The latter also smiled upon seeing this. After sipping some fragrant tea, he arranged his thoughts before slowly speaking. "The ancient remains, as the name suggests, is naturally the things that had been passed down from the ancient times. Those that could still leave some remains after so many years meant that the owner of the remains was not an ordinary person. From how the remains that had appeared in the beast region looks complete, its owner might be a Doshang class peak expert." A seriousness flashed across Xiao Yan's eyes when he heard this. Doshang, this was basically an existence that was near the peak of this world. Now that they had broken through to the Dozun, he could increasingly sense how terrifying this level was. The things left behind by an expert Do Sheng undoubtedly possessed an allure that could not be resisted. The ancient times is a completely different era from now. There would naturally be many remains left behind during the countless number of years. Some remains might have been buried or disappeared in time. However, there would also be some which would suddenly be revealed like the ancient remains that is discovered this time around. Each time the ancient remains appears, it would bring about a bloody storm. You should be aware of just how attractive the things that are left behind by an elite Dosheng are. It is sufficient to cause one to become crazy over it. Feng Zunjia smiled and said, "The flame mantra that you practice is something that Yao Qian and I had underwent a bloody battle back then in order to successfully bring out from the remains that had appeared back then." Xiao Yan quietly nodded. He had heard Yao Lao mention that the process of obtaining the flame mantra was quite difficult. The ancient remains this time around is likely even more troublesome than the last one that we had participated in. This is because it had appeared within the beast region. That is the territory of the magical beast tribes. Beast region. Xiao Yan knitted his brows slightly. He had heard a little of this area. That place was completely the territories of the magical beast tribes. Although there were also humans roaming around there, those magical beasts that had formed a tribe usually possessed extremely xenophobic thoughts. This time around, the ancient remains had appeared on their territory. Given their characters, they would definitely be unhappy for the human experts to come and take a share. It is indeed quite troublesome. Xiao Yan gently nodded. Those magical beast tribes were extremely troublesome to deal with. It was to the point of causing many experts to feel a headache. Ugh, we have dispatched the experts from the Falling Star Pavilion to pay more attention the moment the ancient remains appear. Originally, we did not intend to get involved in this messy business. For us, who had experienced the competition from the last remains, we clearly understand just how cruel it will be. If the Falling Star Pavilion ends up getting involved in it, it will definitely bring about quite a great trouble, Feng Zunja sighed and said. The current Falling Star Pavilion has basically already been included in the Hall of Souls blacklist. We must always be cautious of time. If we end up suffering a serious blow now, they will definitely beat us when we are down and eliminate us in passing. Now, Yao Chen has yet to recover his strength. Therefore, he is unable to leave. Without the help of this kind of expert, we will be unable to get entangled with the Hall of Soul. Xiao Yan nodded slightly. The Falling Star Pavilion might be one of the 4 great pavilions in name, but there was still too much of a gap between it and the Hall of Soul, an old faction that had existed for an extremely long time. However, they had found the soul baby fruit within that ancient remains. In this way, they had no choice but to get involved in this messy business. Feng Zunja changed his tone and spoke in a deep voice. The soul baby fruit was exceptionally important. It was related to whether Yao Chen would be able to regain his peak strength. If they were really able to obtain it, the strength of the Falling Star Pavilion will undoubtedly soar immediately. At that time, with someone like Yao Chen present, even the Hall of Soul will not dare to easily do any random action. Therefore, regardless of how great of a risk it was, they must do their best to help Yao Chen recover to his peak. Currently, the Falling Star Pavilion is enemies with the Hall of Soul. This place is the headquarters of the Falling Star Pavilion, and it must have experts present. Therefore, Old Feng is unable to make this trip to the ancient remains. Xiao Yan's finger gently knocked onto the surface of the table and said, "As for teacher, this place possessed the great Falling Star formation. It will be very safe for you to remain here. Hence, as a precaution, you can only remain here. After counting in this manner, this ancient remains can only be left to me. I will try my best to bring the soul baby fruit back. Moreover, I am also quite interested in this ancient remains." Xiao Yan laughed softly. "It's too dangerous. You do not understand just how cruel the fight within this kind of ancient remains is. You still need to rescue your father. Nothing must go wrong with you." Yao Lao shook his head slowly and said, "Teacher, even if the current me ends up meeting an expert of the strength of old ghost Jiaxing, I will also be able to withdraw safely. Relax, I am aware of my limits." Xiao Yan smiled. He did not wait for Yao Lao to continue speaking before turning his eyes towards Feng Zunja and said, "Old Feng, please help me prepare a detailed map of the beast region. Leave the matter of the soul baby fruit to me." Feng Zunja glanced at Yao Lao, who was frowning tightly by the side. He immediately nodded gently and said, "Although I am also very worried, you are indeed currently the best person for this. In order to allow Yao Chen to swiftly recover his peak strength, we can only trouble you this time around. I will settle the map for you as soon as possible. Additionally, bring Qing Wan with you when you leave. Her clan is also within the beast region. They might be able to provide a little help when the time comes." Xiao Yan smilingly nodded. He did not reject this good intention of Feng Zunja. Yao Lao widened his mouth when he saw these two people swiftly making a decision. Immediately, he could only sigh helplessly. He looked at Xiao Yan and softly said, "Since you insist, teacher shall also not try to advise you against it. You should be careful along the way. If you end up meeting with any dangerous situation, you should withdraw immediately. Remember, in my heart, recovering my strength is not as important as you. It is not easy to find a disciple like you." Xiao Yan rubbed his head and laughingly nodded. After subsequently confirming their route, Xiao Yan did not hurriedly set off. This matter was related to whether Yao Lao could completely recover his strength. Hence, nothing must go wrong with it. Therefore, the various intelligence must be complete. As the saying went, if one sharpened one's axe, one would need less effort which chopping wood. If the information was complete, everything would be done extremely smoothly. During these few days, Xiao Yan was also given a Falling Star Pavilion Elder title. Currently, Yao Lao was the pavilion chief of the Falling Star Pavilion. Being his disciple, Xiao Yan could naturally also be considered a member of the Falling Star Pavilion. Some commotion was also stirred in the Falling Star Pavilion in the face of such a young elder. However, no one voiced any objections. The earth-shaking atmosphere that Xiao Yan had emitted when he broke out from the tower had already allowed everyone to understand that his strength, it was more than sufficient for him to sit on this elder's spot. After this rest continued for 3 days or so, the information related to the ancient remains had also been fully gathered by Xiao Yan. He was aware that it was time to begin traveling to the Beast region. When the sun surfaced in the sky on the morning of the 3rd day, the disciples from the Falling Star Pavilion undergoing morning training turned their eyes towards the sky. There were a couple of figures standing in the air there. A breeze blew over the place, and the clothes of these people fluttered, causing them to appear to possess an extraordinary demeanor. Xiao Yan, you should remember to be more careful on this trip. Quickly withdraw if you meet with any trouble. Feng Zunjia looked at the group that was ready to leave and spoke in a deep voice. Xiao Yan smiled and nodded. His eyes turned towards Yao Chen beside Feng Zunjia and inhaled a deep breath. After which, he cupped his hands towards Yao Chen and said, "Teacher, take care. This disciple will definitely bring back the soul baby fruit for your elderly self." After uttering these words, Xiao Yan ceased hesitating any longer. He waved his hand and suddenly turned around, after which, his body moved and swiftly rushed towards the exit. In the blink of an eye, the entire group had disappeared from everyone's eyes. "Old fellow, you have found quite a good disciple," Feng Zunjia slowly commented as he looked in the direction that Xiao Yan had disappeared towards. Yao Lao nodded gently before laughing out loud. "There is no regret in my life by being able to obtain this disciple. My choice back then was ultimately a correct gamble." The azure sky was clear within thousands of kilometers. The sky appeared to be just an enormous blue mirror that was incomparably clear. "All-wo-wo!" A crane cry was suddenly transmitted from the quiet sky. Immediately, a white figure rushed over from the distant sky. It was accompanied by a wild wind that whistled past the sky. Only when one was close could one see that the white figure was a snow-white giant crane. A couple of figures were seated on its spacious back. It was surprisingly Xiao Yan's group, which had left the Falling Star Pavilion. This trip to the Beast region would definitely not be a smooth one. There were too many experts being attracted by the ancient remains. It was not an easy matter if one wished to obtain the things one needed in this place. Hence, Xiao Yan had brought little fairy doctor Ziyin, Tianhua Zunjia, and Xiongzhan with him on this trip. This lineup, along with Xiao Yan's current strength, was already very strong. Although it was unable to move unhindered within the Beast region, it was not one that anyone would dare to come and offend. Ugh, what fun is there in the Beast region? Why are we going there? Ziyin had some complaints over the destination of this trip. She continued to mutter in this manner all the way. However, Xiao Yan merely smiled in the face of this. He was aware that Ziyin had most likely head to the so-called Beast region during this period where she was missing. That was the place where most magical beast tribe in the Doqi continent gathered. Although the ancient void dragon was extremely mysterious, it was likely that there would be some similar bloodline linking all of them, which possessed some bloodline connection. Therefore, Ziyin would follow this feeling of hers and head to the Beast region. Little Fairy Doctor also smiled slightly when she heard Ziyin's muttering. Xiao Yan had successfully awakened and his injuries had completely healed. This caused her to become completely relaxed. Her usually tensed face had also become much more relaxed. "Ugh, stop muttering." Xiao Yan smiled and shook his head. He tossed a small jade bottle towards Ziyin. The latter received it and took a look. Only then did some joy appear at the tip of her brows. She poured the yaowan inside into her mouth as though they were beans before chewing for a long while. Only then did she laugh. That place is not as nice to muddle in as the Central Plains. Since the ancient remains has currently appeared in the Beast region, you will need to make the preparations for a bloody battle if you intend to obtain anything from it. Qingwan, tell us about the faction distribution within the Beast region. It will allow us to be prepared beforehand and become aware of just who we can offend and who we should not.
Xiao Yan ignored Xian.
He turned his eyes towards Mu Qingluan, who was seated by the side, and smilingly asked. Mu Qingluan raised his eyes upon hearing this. Her eyes still contained a complicated expression as she looked at Xiao Yan. Who could have imagined that this fellow would actually directly break through to the Dozun class after experiencing a serious injury? This level was one that she had dreamed of. The Beast region has gathered nearly 70% of the Magical Beast clan. That place is the world of the Magical Beast. It includes the 3 great tribes of the Magical Beast world, the Heaven Demon Phoenix tribe, the 9 Serene Deep Ground Python, and the Ancient Void Dragon. Mu Qingluan stared at Xiao Yan when she mentioned the Heaven Demon Phoenix tribe. She softly said, "You should be a little more careful. The Heaven Phoenix tribe is extremely sensitive to the Heaven Phoenix essence blood. You were able to hide from Feng Qing Air back then because she was not strong. However, if you meet the experts from the Heaven Demon Phoenix tribe in the Beast region, it will be very difficult to hide it. The Heaven Demon Phoenix is one of the 3 great tribes in the Magical Beast world. There are many experts within the tribe, and it is extremely frightening. Even though you have currently already advanced to the Dozun class, you can only pull back in the face of such a frightening faction. Therefore, it is best that you think of a way to get rid of the Heaven Demon Phoenix essence on you before you enter the Beast region."
Mu Qingluan spoke seriously.
Xiao Yan fondled his chin. There was no need to talk about the terrifying strength of the Heaven Demon Phoenix given that it was able to become one of the 3 great tribes of the Magical Beast world. If there was no special circumstances, Xiao Yan did not wish to be enemies with them. "Qi, the Heaven Demon Phoenix tribe is nothing. Xiao Yan, you need not be afraid. With me around, I will let them all be unable to return if they dare to come." Upon hearing this, Ziyin, who was chewing happily by the side, immediately curled her lips, patted her small chest, and said. Mu Qingluan was stunned as she glanced at Ziyin. She was not certain about the latter's status. However, from the manner in which Feng Zunjia and the rest treated her, it seemed that the background of this little girl was strong. However, regardless of how strong her background was, these words were a little boastful. By being able to become one of the 3 great tribes of the Magical Beast world, there were hardly any person or faction who would dare utter such words to the Heaven Demon Phoenix tribe. Mu Qingluan did not think that this little girl in front of her possessed such an ability. Xiao Yan glanced at Ziyin and involuntarily shook her head. Although this girl was an ancient void dragon, she was still too young. She might be quite strong, but it was far from the point of being able to frighten the Heaven Demon Phoenix tribe with just her name. "Relax, I will think of a solution regarding the Demon Phoenix blood." Xiao Yan turned his eyes towards Qingluan and smilingly said, "It is good that you have the confidence. You should be aware of the seriousness of this matter. Offending the Heaven Demon Phoenix in the Beast region is equivalent to offending a faction like the Pill Tower in the Central Plains. It will be extremely troublesome." Mu Qingluan nodded and softly said, "The subsidiary relationship in the Beast region is extremely strong. A powerful tribe will possess many subsidiary tribes. These subsidiary tribes view the main tribe as the leader. There are many implications in these relationships. If one wished to discuss about it, it is even more complicated than the main sect and branch sect in the human world. The tribe that I come from is the Green Mythical Bird tribe. Although we cannot be compared to the Heaven Demon Phoenix, we also possess some reputation within the Beast region. There are nearly 10 subsidiary tribes under my tribe. The combination of the experts from these tribes will be quite strong." There was some surprise in Xiao Yan's eyes. The uniqueness of this region had created a unique style. Although the human world also possessed this kind of subsidiary relationship, it was far from having developed into such an intertwined manner. A human heart was at times far more complicated than that of a beast. The one with the most subsidiary tribes within the Beast region is the 9 Serene Deep Ground Python tribe. Their numbers is the largest amongst the 3 great tribes. Of course, the result of gaining in numbers was that the bloodline of the current 9 Serene Deep Ground Python is becoming increasingly impure. Mu Qingluan spread her hands and said, "The Heaven Demon Phoenix tribe has an extremely harsh management of its bloodline. Even the dead Heaven Demon Phoenix must be buried within the Heaven Demon Phoenix tribe, forbidden ground. Any outsider who obtained the corpse or other parts of the Heaven Demon Phoenix only have two choices. One was to take the initiative to hand it over, while the second was to be chased after by them with killing intent. Mu Qingluan looked at Xiao Yan with a deeper meaning in her eyes when she spoke until this point. It appeared as though she was issuing him a reminder. As for the most mysterious ancient void dragon, I have not heard about them having any subsidiary tribes. Of course, this should likely be because they are not interested. Otherwise, there will be quite a number of powerful tribes willingly joining them. A faint respectful expression flashed across Mu Qingluan's face when mentioning the ancient void dragon. The ancient void dragon was different from the Heaven Demon Phoenix tribe or the 9 serene deep ground python, which had climbed up slowly. It originated from the ancient times and was worthy of being the ultimate being of all beasts. Since the ancient times, they had always been the top existence within the magical beast world. Xiyan widened her mouth and poured the final Yaowan into her mouth. She chewed a couple of times before patting her little stomach in a satisfied manner. She casually said, "The Heaven Demon Phoenix is not as strong as you have described. There are similarly some beasts that keeps an extremely low profile within the magical beast world. Moreover, all of them possess a bloodline from the ancient times. These tribes might not possess a large number, but they are also quite powerful. If their own ancestor was still around, they might still possess the qualification to say such words. Unfortunately, the true ancient Heaven Phoenix has already ceased to exist in this world. Moreover, it is not that the ancient void dragon does not have any subsidiary tribes, but it is just that you are unaware of them." Mu Qingluan widened her mouth slightly upon hearing these words of Xiyan. The ancient Heaven Phoenix. This name that originated from the ancient times was something that she had occasionally read about in the old books within the tribe. It is rumored that this Heaven Phoenix was a peak existence that could be compared with the strongest magical beast, the ancient void dragon, during the ancient times. However, she did not expect that this secret name from the ancient times would actually be spoken from the mouth of this little girl. My green mythical bird tribe is also a tribe that possessed some reputation. If the ancient void dragon possessed some subsidiary tribes, how could I not know about such an important matter? Although she vaguely thought that Xiyan might be right, Mu Qingluan was still a little unwilling to be taught a lesson by a little girl. Hence, he immediately retorted, "Green mythical bird tribe?" Xiyan raised her thin brows. Her eyes were a little strange as she looked at Mu Qingluan, after which she let out a laughter and actually ceased to continue speaking. "You?" Mu Qingluan felt a little furious when she saw this manner of Xiyan. Xiao Yan by the side hurriedly stopped her. The appearance of the ancient remains this time around is located at the Beast Bone Mountain Range in the Beast region. That place can be considered the territory of the 9 serene deep ground python. It is rumored that there is the existence of a Tian class Do skill there. It is likely that the experts from the 9 serene deep ground python will also intervene. At that time, the fight will definitely be extremely intense. All of you should try to be careful. We should swiftly leave once we have obtained the soul baby fruit." Mu Qingluan gently inhaled a breath of air. She gritted her teeth and looked at the unconcerned face of Xiyan before speaking with some fury. After which, she directly sat down and shut her eyes. Clearly, she was greatly angered by Xiyan. Xiao Yan could only spread his hands helplessly in the face of this scene. After which, he glared ruthlessly at Xiyan. Yet, the latter directly ignored him. She stretched her lazy waist before using Xiong Zhan beside her as a backrest and swiftly fell into a deep sleep. Due to the aggressive atmosphere between Mu Qingluan and Xiyan, the remaining journey became quite oppressive. Fortunately, this kind of depressing feeling continued for around 4 days before it was broken by the vast mountain range that appeared at the edge of one's sight. That place was the Beast region, a unique area where the magical beast tribes ruled. The size of the Beast region might not be comparable to the Central Plains, but it was not something that could be slight. That stacking mountain range that extended endlessly was sufficient to allow one to feel the different wild atmosphere of this Beast region. Although the Beast region is known for its 100,000 large mountains, this was merely a rough estimate. If one was to really count them, it would definitely far exceed this number. These mountains spread into the distance where a human strength could not reach. Following the flow of time, countless of treasures had also been left behind in this endless mountain range, waiting for someone with the affinity to open them. The ancient remains had appeared in the Bone Mountain range of the Beast region this time around. It was quite renowned within the Beast region. This was because this mountain range possessed a sea of bones that caused one to be stunned. Countless number of beast bones were thrown in this place. These beast bones would gradually unleash some of the unique beast strength within them following the flow of time. This kind of energy was of not much use to a human, but it was not a bad nourishment for a magical beast. Hence, it had resulted in this Bone Mountain range to become a spot where many magical beasts like to gather. The Bone Mountain range was located at the southwestern part of the Beast region. Due to them being afraid that the soul baby fruit would be obtained by others first, Xiao Yan's group had hurried towards the Bone Mountain range without stopping once they entered the Beast region. The current Beast region had undoubtedly become lively because of the appearance of the ancient remains. During Xiao Yan's group journey towards the Bone Mountain range, they saw quite a number of experts, who obviously had the same destination as them. Amongst these experts were magical beasts that could take the human form, as well as some human experts who had hurried over from outside the Beast region after hearing the news. Clearly, word of the ancient remains appearing had already spread. Xiao Yan involuntarily frowned upon seeing this scene. It was unexpected that the allure of the ancient remains would actually be this great. These lone experts were still all right. The only thing Xiao Yan was worried about was some large factions coming as a group. Things would be a little troublesome if that was the case. It is rumored that there is the existence of a Tian-class Do technique in this ancient remains. It is likely that those large factions will be after that thing even if they come. Our target is only the soul baby fruit. If things are not right when the time comes, we will take the soul baby fruit and leave. It is not good to step onto this muddy water. Xiao Yan's face had an expression of deep thought, while he looked at the mountain range that swiftly moved backwards from under him. This did not mean that he was uninterested in the Tian-class Do technique. Honestly speaking, even he had never seen just what a Tian-class Do technique looked like until now. It was a lie if he said he was not curious. However, he understood the importance of various matters. Currently, the most important thing was to help Yao Lao recover his peak strength. Otherwise, the gap between the Falling Star Pavilion and the Hall of Soul would be a little too big. If the Hall of Soul managed to completely grasp them and attack, the Falling Star Pavilion would be finished. Of course, if the situation did not exceed his expectations after having obtained the soul baby fruit, Xiao Yan could quietly think of doing something else. Tian-class Do technique. This Do technique that existed in the legends would likely possess a strength that was comparable to Xiao Yan's Annihilation Fire Lotus. After traveling for 2 continuous days in the continuous mountain range of the enormous Beast region, a glaring dense white color suddenly appeared in the distance. This wisp of dense white color appeared out of place within the lush green mountain range. However, an excitement surged into the eyes of Xiao Yan's group when they saw it. After nearly 10 days of traveling, they had finally reached their destination. The number of people flying across the surrounding sky increased when they arrived at this place. Occasionally, there would be a figure flying across like a storm. Finally, it would rush towards the distant dense white mountain range. We are arriving at the Bone Mountain range. There are 2 elders from the Falling Star Pavilion investigating here. We should meet up with them first and discuss the subsequent matters. What do you say? Mu Qing Luan's expression had become much more solemn as she looked at the dense white mountain range in the distance. Even at such a great distance, she could still sense quite a number of unusually strong aura. Yes. Xiao Yan nodded slightly. Currently, this Bone Mountain range was truly a chaotic place. Experts from various factions were gathered at this place. If they were to charge in without being aware of the situation, they might end up becoming the target of everyone. Mu Qing Luan took out an old jade from her storage ring after seeing Xiao Yan nodding, after which she gently shattered it. Soon after the old jade was shattered, a figure swiftly rushed over from the distant mountain range, after which it headed towards Xiao Yan's group. A moment later, it had appeared above the large eagle. The figure clearly sighed in relief when he saw Xiao Yan's group. The one who had arrived was an old man in gray robes. He wore an elder badge of the Falling Star Pavilion on his chest. However, this old man appeared a little miserable looking at this moment. It was as though he had just exchanged blows with someone. Elder Hu, what happened? Where is Elder Qi? Mu Qingluan asked in a startled manner when she saw the appearance of this old man. Ugh! The old man who was called Elder Hu laughed bitterly and immediately spoke with some anger. Elder Qi, and I have come to the Bone Mountain Range to investigate its situation on the orders of the two pavilion chiefs. Currently, quite a number of powerful factions and experts had come to this Bone Mountain Range. Everyone has found a spot to settle down within this mountain range and wait for the ancient remains to completely open. Elder Qi's and my luck are not bad. We found a mountaintop that is near the ancient remains. That place could observe the activity of the remains in the quickest possible time. However, the two of us has just led some Falling Star Pavilion's disciples to build a camp there when we met the people from the Wind Lightning Pavilion. Wind Lightning Pavilion? Xiao Yan raised his brows slightly. It was indeed an old enemy. They actually dared to attack? Mu Qingluan's face sunk slightly. Some fury rose within her eyes. The current Wind Lightning Pavilion is becoming increasingly arrogant by relying on its good terms with the Heaven Phoenix tribe. There is no choice. This time around, even Lei Zunjia from the Wind Lightning Pavilion has personally come. The two of us has yet to even reason it out with him when we were directly thrust aside. In his fury, Elder Qi also ended up being injured by the experts from the Wind Lightning Pavilion. Currently, some disciples are taking care of him and he is unable to move. Therefore, only I can come and receive you. Elder Hu sighed. Although he spoke in this manner, his face had some dissatisfaction. Clearly, the overbearing manner of the Wind Lightning Pavilion had caused him to be quite furious.
Mu Qingluan frowned tightly.
Suddenly, she turned her head and looked at Xiao Yan. She softly said, "Teacher has said that you will be in charge of everything in this trip?" Elder Hu's eyes turned towards Xiao Yan upon hearing these words of Mu Qingluan. He cupped his hands together respectfully and said, "You must be the personal disciple of the pavilion chief, Junior Chief Xiao Yan, right?" Cuckoo, the old Mihu Fu, greets Junior Chief. Elder Hu Fu is too courteous. Just call me Xiao Yan. I am unworthy of the title Junior Chief. Xiao Yan smiled and waved his hand. He glanced at Mu Qingluan, who was staring intently at him from behind. After thinking for a moment, he said, "Let's go and see Elder Qi first. Cuckoo, I will lead the way." Elder Hu nodded, turned around, and led the way. "Hey, Xiao Yan, what should we do about this? The Wind Lightning Pavilion has completely not given the Falling Star Pavilion any face. If we do not do anything, it is likely that we will end up being a joke to others." Mu Qingluan softly said as she looked at Elder Hu was leading them in front. Xiao Yan smiled faintly but did not say anything. However, upon seeing this smile of his, Mu Qingluan felt a little calm in her heart. Ever since she had become acquainted with Xiao Yan, she had never seen Xiao Yan suffer any loss. Even when he ended up suffering a serious injury and ended up unconscious for a year, Xiao Yan had also got a 5-star dozun to pay an arm as a price. Everyone followed Elder Hu to shuttle through the vast mountain range. Currently, this mountain range had already been occupied by a densely packed sea of people. It was noisy all day long, causing this originally quiet mountain range to become just like a marketplace. Various confusing noise surged over from all directions. This sea of people did not lack some powerful aura that caused even Xiao Yan to glance sideways. It seemed that the ancient remains this time around had indeed attracted quite a number of true experts. The group had shuttled through the mountain range for quite a while before finally coming to a stop at a remote small hill. At this moment, there were 20 over Falling Star Pavilion disciples guarding this hill. However, they currently appeared quite depressed and furious. Clearly, this was caused by the Wind Lightning Pavilion chasing them out from their camp without giving them any face. The return of Elder Wu caused everyone's attention to be braced. When they saw Mu Qingluan's group, all of their morale was finally lifted a little. Quite a number of eyes paused on Xiao Yan. They had long since heard of this personal disciple of the pavilion chief, who had undertaken a retreat in the stone tower for a year. Cough, Junior Chief. Please forgive me for being unable to receive your arrival. A somewhat pale-looking red-clothed elder walked out from the tent with the support of 2 Falling Star Pavilion's disciples after Xiao Yan's group had landed. He cupped his hands together towards Xiao Yan's group and spoke respectfully.
Cough.
This elder Qi could not resist coughing intensely after his voice had just sounded. Some traces of blood appeared on the corner of his mouth. Clearly, his internal organs were injured. Damn it, those bastards from the Wind Lightning Pavilion. Our main force of the Falling Star Pavilion did not come. Otherwise, they will not have any opportunity to be arrogant. The fury within the hearts of those surrounding Falling Star Pavilion's disciples rose when they saw this injury of Elder Qi. Xiao Yan slowly walked towards Elder Qi's side. He grabbed the latter's hand and briefly examined his injuries. After which, he nodded slightly and said, "Your injuries are quite serious. Who has attacked you?" The Northern Pavilion Chief of the Wind Lightning Pavilion, Fei Tian. Elder Qi sighed. Xiao Yan was startled when he heard this. He immediately laughed softly. He had not met this Northern Pavilion Chief Fei Tian for 2 to 3 years, yet the latter was still as overbearing as ever. Xiao Yan took out a medicinal pill from his storage ring and handed it to Elder Qi. He stretched his lazy waist and said, "How many dozuns does the Wind Lightning Pavilion have?" "Just lay Zunjia alone." Xiao Yan nodded slightly, after which he slowly turned around in front of everyone's eyes. "Junior Chief, you are?" Elder, who was startled upon seeing this. He hurriedly asked, "Let's go. It's time to destroy their place." The faint voice that was being transmitted over caused the blood within the bodies of those Falling Star Pavilion's disciples present to boil instantly.